So no shit, there I was on a warm September night, 1994, ready to go off to war. I was shoulder to shoulder in a C-141 and had all my combat gear on, had a parachute on, had 2 basic loads of live ammunition, and my battalion was about to take off. Lead elements had already taken off to invade Haiti. It's a little known fact that in support of the United Nations Security Resolution, the United States was going to put 14,000 parachutes in the air, the biggest jump since Operation Market Garden back in September 1994, in order to take out a government a military junta that had taken control of the democratically elected government there. So I'm sitting on the aircraft. We've done rehearsals for weeks. Again, my battalion is going to conduct a parachute assault onto Port-au-Prince International Airport. As we get on the plane, there's the drone of the engines. Everyone's sort of in their own thoughts. And one of the paratroopers there, a private, asked the chaplain. He says, "Hey, chaplain, we're going to kill all these people tonight. Is that right?" And that caught my attention because I thought, wow, I haven't really thought about that. I knew we were expected to kill about 200 Haitian security forces on the airfield that night because we had to think about where we were going to put the bodies and things like that. But I hadn't really thought about, is it right? So I looked, and it seemed like all the other paratroopers looked. And the chaplain seemed caught off guard. And he said, "You're a soldier. The president told you to do it. That makes it right." And I remember thinking, that's a really bad answer. I'm sure there's a better answer somewhere. But then, I put my game face back on and tried to focus on the mission I had at hand. Because I was actually going to be the last person out of the bird. So, in training, an aircraft will make several passes over a drop zone. In war, you don't do that. You come in a lot lower, and it's just one big pass, hoping that you don't get shot down. And I was not in a command position. I was an assistant operations officer. I was going to sort of manage security on the airfield as units came in and out of it. So I was the last person out. So I was going to land closest into the suburbs of Port-au-Prince. I was not going to make it onto the airfield. And so I was really nervous. I was going to land outside sort of the perimeter of where American forces were going to be. And I knew I was going to hit the ground, put my weapon into operation, put my nods on, turn and go back opposite direction to travel to get back to the airfield and link up with friendly forces. And in my mind, I made up the decision, anyone not wearing glint tape, all American forces had infrared tape, glint tape, on our helmets on both shoulders. Anyone not with that, I was going to shoot because I had to get back to friendly lines. And that was sort of the mental rehearsal going through my mind. Well, as it turns out, once CNN and everyone were reporting that there were hundreds of American planes heading towards Haiti, the coup leaders there gave up. Peace broke out, and our planes got turned around, and we landed without going off to war. For the next couple years, I took command of an infantry company, and we trained for war, although my unit never deployed. One day I was out on the range. I got a phone call asking if I wanted to go off to grad school, study philosophy, and then teach at West Point. And I thought, yeah, that sounds great. And I remember thinking, I'm going to look up that answer. When I get off to grad school and I got some time, I'm going to look up to see why it's morally right to kill enemy soldiers in war. And when I got off to grad school, had some time finally, started looking things up. And what I found is there was no answer in U.S. Army doctrine. There's no answer in U.S. military doctrine. International law didn't really answer. It could say things are legal, but it didn't really, nothing had answered the question, why can I look down my sights and kill an enemy soldier? And the answer wasn't there. Even, I'm Catholic, Catholic Church, over 2,000 years of theology and sort of systematic theology and ethics as an answer to almost everything. It didn't have the answer I was looking for. Right? What I found is that the tradition of justified war, just war theory, justifies war. Why one nation can go to war against another nation to defend itself. And after justifying that, it sort of just follows that killing in war is justified because, of course, you can't have a war without killing. When I looked for the literature and why is it okay to shoot that person through my sights, I found a lot of war pacifist literature. People say that war is morally wrong. And their argument is that you have no business shooting that person. That person is an innocent attacker. They didn't start the war. They have nothing against you personally. You didn't start the war. You're both victims of the state. And since that's an innocent attacker, it's an innocent person, it would be morally wrong to kill them. And since it would be morally wrong to kill them and you can't have war without killing, right, then war must be wrong. So I discovered that war is this, killing in war has this top-down justification that doesn't really get into the details the way I wanted. And it has, and war, killing in war has this bottom-up condemnation that is of the war pacifists. So that sort of freaked me out. So, 12 months into graduate school, I was really wondering whether I could in good conscience stay in the military. I actually went to some pacifist meetings, anti-war meetings, and there's nothing they love, better than a, airborne ranger, recent infantry company commander questioning whether war is right. And but I quickly saw the flaws in their thinking, in the pacifist thinking. As soon as I came to a meeting, people were saying things like, you're pretty intelligent. You never had to join the military in the first place. They really think that the military is where people who are too stupid to get a real job go. Or you're a good person. You don't belong in the military. Which really alienated me because the best people I've ever known tend to be in the military. People really committed to service to others. And I began asking questions about My Lai and other things. And what I discovered is, at least here at Virginia Tech, or there at Virginia Tech, the people involved in the anti-war movement did not know much about war at all. They had some superficial stereotype of what happens in war, which is a bunch of people, stupid, poor pawns of the state, are sent off as automatons to kill. And that's just not the case. People, if you know war, you know that people exercise a whole lot of moral autonomy in war. So, through my lit review, I'd seen that the justification for killing just didn't get down to the level it needed to. It really just justified war. But I saw that, the war pacifists seemed to have a good respect for human life, but they didn't apply it well to war. And what also jumped out at me is that people who are anti-war and war pacifists do not deny themselves police protection, right? They do understand that there is a place for force and violence in the world. I challenged them, saying, hey, if you really believe that all violence is wrong, put a big yellow sticker that you wear all the time that says, I will not defend myself using force, nor will I allow anyone else to defend myself using force. Put it on your car, put it on your house front doors, really practice what you preach. And, 98 out of 100 people will say, wow, this is really beautiful what you're doing, no force. And the other two are going to beat the heck out of you, steal all your stuff, probably rape your family. It's the problem of evil in the world. Throughout history, across cultures, there are always some people who are bad to other people. And that is why we have police forces, to protect the good against that small minority of bad who can make things miserable for everyone else. But, the pacifists, none of them would accept that. They say, oh, that's different. And so that would become my question. Is it different? Because from what I saw is they don't understand war. And so what I did for my thesis is I took the principles of justified killing, justified use of force that we all accept in our police protection, domestic protection, sort of pulled out those principles, applied them to war based on my experience as, I was enlisted in the infantry and then as an infantry officer. And what I found is that, you can justify killing in war by the same principles. At the time, I thought that was just a good thing for Pete Kilner. Yep, I can come back. I can stay with this career. I feel good about what we're doing. I understand why the core thing we do in the military is morally justified. And I came across a series of incidences in which I saw that it was a bigger problem than just one I was struggling with.